The Young and the Restless spoilers a dark turn in Genoa. The mystery of Sharon's fate. The sleepy town of Genoa City was no stranger to drama, but this time, the tension gripped every resident like an iron fist. The news spread like wildfire. Something horrific had been discovered in the murky depths of the Genoa River, the same infamous spot where Heather's lifeless body had been found only months prior. The authorities, tight-lipped but visibly shaken, called a press briefing that left more questions than answers. When the announcement reached the Newman family, Nick, Mariah, and Faith couldn't stay away. The fear of history repeating itself drew them to the scene, hearts pounding with dread. The once calm riverbank was now swarming with officers and curious bystanders, their faces illuminated by the flashing red and blue lights of police cruisers. As the crane emerged, its mechanical groans pierced the heavy silence, lifting a waterlogged object from the depths. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the object revealed itself, a car, unmistakably Sharon's sleek, red sedan. Faith clutched Nick's arm, her voice trembling with fear. "Daddy, it's Mom's car." Mariah's tears flowed freely, and Nick struggled to maintain his composure, forcing himself to focus. "Stay back," he ordered his daughters, his voice firm despite the chaos unfolding around them. He edged closer as officers combed through the wreckage, hoping, praying for a miracle. His heart sank further with each discovery: Sharon's coat, damp and torn, and a handful of personal items, a compact, a bracelet, and her unmistakable journal. But there was no body. Sharon wasn't there. The threat beneath the surface. While the Newman family reeled from the discovery, two sinister figures watched from the shadows: Jordan and Ian Ward. Their plan to terrorize the Newmans was underway. Ian smirked, his eyes glinting with malice as he whispered to Jordan, "Fear is a powerful weapon. Let them believe she's gone. It will break them." Jordan hesitated for a moment. "What if they find out she's alive?" "They won't. Not if we play this right," Ian hissed, his tone sharp and unyielding. Their cruelty knew no bounds. They had orchestrated the accident and ensured Sharon's car ended up in the river, leaving just enough clues to torment her family. For them, it was a game, a deadly, twisted game. A family mourns back at the Newman estate. Nick faced the impossible task of telling his children that their mother was likely gone. Faith sobbed uncontrollably, clinging to Mariah, who tried to stay strong but failed miserably. Nick's voice cracked as he tried to comfort them, though his own heart felt like it had shattered into pieces. "We don't have all the answers yet," he said, trying to keep hope alive. But deep down, he feared the worst. Plans for a funeral began. The Newman family wanted to honor Sharon with the dignity she deserved, even though their hearts weren't ready to let her go. Friends and family gathered to offer their condolences, sharing stories of Sharon's kindness, resilience, and unwavering love for her children. But Sharon wasn't dead. Sharon's fight for freedom. Sharon was alive, though she wished she weren't as she stared at her captors. She had been taken from the riverbank moments before her car was sent plunging into the depths. Jordan and Ian had hidden her in a decrepit cabin far from Genoa City, a place surrounded by dense woods and unreachable by phone or road. Her wrists were bound, her face bruised, but her spirit remained unbroken. As the days passed, she pieced together her captors' motives. They wanted to cripple the Newmans emotionally, to ruin them financially. Sharon's supposed death was a message: no one was safe. But Sharon wasn't a victim. Not anymore. She overheard their plans, their petty arguments about how to keep her hidden. She noticed Ian's growing impatience with Jordan, the cracks forming in their partnership. She had to find a way to exploit those cracks and escape. A glimmer of hope. The day of her funeral arrived, and Sharon sat alone in the cabin, watching the morning light filter through a cracked window. Her captors had gone to check on their next move, leaving her briefly unattended. She thought of her family, imagined their pain, and felt tears well in her eyes. She couldn't let them suffer any longer. Desperation fueled her as she worked to free herself from the ropes. Hours passed before she succeeded, her wrists raw but her resolve stronger than ever. She searched the cabin for anything that could aid her escape and found an old map and a flashlight. It wasn't much, but it was enough. As night fell, Sharon slipped out into the forest, her heart racing with every step. She didn't know if Ian or Jordan would return before she made it to safety, but she refused to let fear paralyze her. Her family needed to know the truth. Revelation. Back in Genoa City, the Newman family and friends gathered to bid Sharon farewell. Nick stood by her empty casket, his hands gripping the edge as he struggled to deliver the eulogy. "Sharon was more than the mother of my children," he began, his voice shaking. "She was my partner, my confidant, and my anchor. I can't believe she's gone." As he spoke, a commotion erupted at the entrance to the cemetery. Heads turned as a figure stumbled into view, disheveled and pale but unmistakably alive. It was Sharon. Faith screamed, running toward her mother with tears streaming down her face. Nick froze in shock, unable to process what he was seeing. Mariah broke down completely, clutching Sharon as though she might disappear again. Sharon's voice cracked as she explained, "I escaped. Ian and Jordan, they took me. They wanted to hurt us, to destroy us." The crowd erupted into chaos as the truth set in. Sharon was alive, but her family's nightmare was far from over. Ian and Jordan were still out there, and their next move could be even more devastating. A new chapter. As Sharon reunited with her family, one thing became clear: this was just the beginning. The Newman family vowed to protect each other, to fight against those who sought to tear them apart. But the shadows of Ian Ward and Jordan loomed large, a reminder that their battle was far from over. Genoa City would never be the same. And neither would the Newmans. Hope amid uncertainty. The search for Sharon. The tragedy at Genoa River left everyone reeling, yet amidst the overwhelming sorrow, a flicker of hope persisted. Sharon's absence from the submerged car raised more questions than answers, and the Genoa City police weren't ready to close the case. Their theory? Sharon could still be alive. The police's theory. The detectives meticulously reconstructed the scene, trying to piece together what might have happened. Tire marks leading to the bridge suggested a sudden, sharp swerve. A broken guardrail hinted at an accidental plunge. But the lack of Sharon's body complicated things. Investigators speculated Sharon might have intentionally driven off the bridge either as an accident or something more deliberate. However, one critical detail kept their hope alive: Sharon was an excellent swimmer. Officers theorized that she could have escaped the sinking car, surfacing and making it to shore. But if she had survived, why hadn't she come home? Did she suffer from memory loss? Was she injured and stranded? Or was she hiding for reasons no one could yet understand? A family in limbo. Nick, initially devastated, clung to the idea that Sharon might still be alive. The evidence, the missing body, her swimming skills, and the belongings found in the car, was enough to make him call off the funeral. His decision, though met with some skepticism, brought a measure of relief to Mariah, Faith, and the rest of the Newman family. They weren't ready to say goodbye. "I know she's out there," Nick said, his voice firm as he addressed his family. "I don't know where, and I don't know why she hasn't come back, but I can feel it. Sharon's alive. And we're going to find her." Faith, still shaken, clung to her father's words. "Do you really think she'll come back, Daddy?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Nick pulled her close. "Yes, sweetheart. We just have to hold on a little longer." Waiting for a miracle. The Newman family shifted from mourning to searching. Flyers with Sharon's picture were distributed across Genoa City and neighboring towns. Social media campaigns urged anyone with information to come forward. The community rallied around them, offering prayers and assistance. Yet, days turned into weeks with no sign of Sharon. Despite the uncertainty, the family remained hopeful. Every phone call, every knock on the door, brought a surge of anticipation. Faith often rushed to the window at the slightest sound, hoping to see her mother walking up the driveway. Mariah busied herself with managing the household, trying to keep everyone grounded. Even Victor Newman, usually stoic, quietly arranged for private investigators to widen the search. Sharon's side of the story, unbeknownst to her family, Sharon was alive. She had managed to escape the sinking car, her instincts kicking in as she fought against the pull of the river's current. Her lungs burned as she surfaced, gasping for air. The icy water chilled her to the bone, but she was alive. Disoriented and frightened, Sharon stumbled to the riverbank, her clothes soaked and her mind racing. She didn't know how long she sat there, trembling under the moonlight, her thoughts a tangled mess. She knew she should go home, but something held her back, a sense of dread, a feeling that the danger wasn't over. Jordan and Ian's threats echoed in her mind. They had warned her, taunted her, and now their plan to hurt her family was in motion. If she returned to Genoa City, would she be putting her loved ones at even greater risk? The thought paralyzed her, and in her fear, Sharon made a difficult choice, to stay away, at least for now. The Newman family's unwavering faith as the days dragged on, the Newmans remained steadfast. Nick spent hours poring over maps and reports, following up on every lead. Mariah visited the river daily, hoping for some clue that might guide them closer to Sharon. Faith clung to a stuffed animal her mother had given her, refusing to believe she was truly gone. Even the police, initially skeptical, began to align with Nick's theory. "There's no evidence to suggest she didn't survive," one detective told Nick. "We're keeping this case open until we know for sure." Nick took comfort in those words. He often sat on the porch late at night, staring out into the darkness, silently willing Sharon to come back. "You're stronger than this," he whispered into the night. "You'll come back to us." The turning point one evening, as the family gathered in the living room, a knock at the door interrupted the quiet. Nick rushed to answer it, his heart pounding. Standing on the doorstep was an older man in a tattered coat, holding a small object. "I found this by the river," he said, handing it over. It was Sharon's wedding ring. The discovery reignited their determination. If Sharon had left her ring, it was a sign she had been there recently. But where was she now? Sharon's return. As the Newman family clung to hope, Sharon wrestled with her own fears. Finally, the love for her children and Nick outweighed her fear of Ian and Jordan. She knew she couldn't stay away forever. Gathering her strength, she began the long trek back to Genoa City, unsure of how she would face them but determined to try. When Sharon finally stepped onto the Newman property late one evening, her appearance stunned everyone. Faith was the first to spot her, her scream of joy echoing through the house. "Mom! Mom's here," she cried, running to embrace her. Nick froze in disbelief, his eyes welling with tears as he took in the sight of Sharon, disheveled but alive. Mariah's gasp turned into sobs as she joined the embrace. "We thought we lost you," Nick said, his voice breaking as he pulled Sharon close. Sharon's voice trembled as she explained, "I couldn't come back sooner. I was afraid. Ian and Jordan, they're still out there. But I couldn't stay away. I had to see you." A new beginning. Sharon's return brought relief and joy to the Newman family, but the battle was far from over. Ian and Jordan were still at large, and the danger they posed was real. Yet, for now, the family took solace in their reunion, vowing to stand together against whatever came next. As they sat around the living room, Sharon holding Faith tightly, Nick whispered, "We're not letting them win. We'll get through this, together." And for the first time in weeks, hope filled the Newman household once again.